like Iraq and other of these countries. There are 43 countries that are designated special interest aliens, correct? Right.
Correct.
That when you went to Syria, what you found, and of course Syria being a state sponsor of terror, no friend of ours, what you found was a little network of people who would refer illegal aliens that wanted to come into this country to the Guatemalan consulate in Jordan. Tell me more about that.
Well, what I found in the Middle East is a number of consul offices of countries that are in South America and Central America. And there's really not a lot of oversight. There's not a lot of really concern in those embassies and those consulates for just providing visas pretty much to anybody who applies.
Right.
They don't have any particular reason to be concerned with U.S. security interests. And so
no, in fact, they have a lot of reason to undermine our security.
Well, as a matter of fact, I interviewed the Cuban consul in Damascus, and he was pretty delighted to tell me that he was happy to give visas to anybody who asked,
right,
and paid the $70
right,
to Cuba, and then he was able, and then anybody who lands in Cuba, which is not a destination country, can pretty much move on to Latin America, Central America, or South America, where then it's a pretty straight shot into Mexico and in the U.S.
Right.
Most special interest aliens seem to be interested in arriving first in South America and Central America because it puts them within striking distance of the U.S. border.
Right. Very quickly, one last interesting fact that you uncovered was that Mexico apparently collaborates very closely with the U.S. to keep these special interest aliens out of their own southern border. So if it works for them, why don't they accept us doing it for our own southern border?
Well, one of the surprises that I found in my reporting was that, in fact, Mexico was extremely involved in the issue of special interest aliens. And, in fact, while Mexico argues about allowing their own citizens across the border,
right,
they do a lot to stop this particular group.
A point that should be emphasized. Thank you, Todd, for your good.
Well, you see, it's not just me saying this. You know, Homeland Security Secretary Janet Napolitano testified to Congress last month that the border has never been stronger. What she doesn't say is the department no longer measures illegal immigrants who get away, only the illegals that they catch. For 2 years, Napolitano has claimed our southern border is secure without having any metrics in place to make that determination. John Cornyn, Republican from Texas, told Fox News such statements demonstrate her lack of leadership and unwillingness to solve the problem. It's the entire administration who is unwilling to solve the problem. In response, the Department of Homeland Security argues staffing levels are at an all-time high, while border security apprehensions remain at historic lows. A downward trend, it claims. It reflects fewer individuals crossing the border. Apprehensions are down 79% since 2000 and 50% since 2008. But those numbers alone mean very little. One congressional aide called them a sticking point in immigration reform, especially in the negotiations. It's like the juggler who tells you he can juggle 3 balls, but he fails to tell you he dropped 5. You see what I'm saying? Apprehensions alone are meaningless. It could mean fewer people are crossing, or you're just missing a larger share of those who do cross. We don't know because we can't get the truth out of them. And what exactly defines a secure border? It's critical as Republicans and Democrats get closer and closer to this immigration overhaul that some lawmakers insist on border security first, a precondition for any form of amnesty or path legalization. The problem is the Department of Homeland Security has no reliable or accepted metric to measure border security. That presents a problem for lawmakers who don't want to accept the claim that the border is safe and secure. There are areas of the border that have never been worse, never been more dangerous. There's an Arizona rancher named Dan Bell. He says every time someone mentions immigration reform, we see a spike. We see more people coming through. He said that's the case now. Bell operates a 50-square-mile ranch along the U.S. border. He says illegal immigration traffic on his ranch is worse, not better. It's worse than before. He sees the arrival of thousands of border agents in nearby Nogales, but none anywhere around his ranch, which is where they're coming across. He says the canyons, the valleys, the mountains of Santa Cruz County, that's where the activity is now. Santa Cruz County Sheriff Tony Estrada says the activity has shifted from urban to rural areas. In Nogales, Estrada says the city itself has never been safer. The busy ports of entry are heavily fortified with massive steel curtains stretching 5 miles east and west of town. Stadium lighting and cameras blanket the border, while Border Patrol agents and vehicles saturate the streets. He said, in my 45 years in law enforcement, I have never seen it more secure than it is right now. That's from Sheriff Estrada. But outside of the city, ranchers and agents tell a different story. Smugglers are mobile. Their routes are fluid and change every hour relative to border patrols and cameras and towers. The Border Patrol no longer keeps data that reflects this dynamic shift in routes. The agency kept 3 important statistics: illegal immigrants that it caught, those that turned away, and those that got away. Now, a formula using those 3 numbers is what they use to determine efficiency. The last year, the agency collected those numbers. The Border Patrol apprehended 124,000 illegal immigrants. They turned back 43,000, and they missed 25,000. Who were among those 25,000? The agency dropped this metric and now reports apprehensions, which the GAO said was inadequate. The number of apprehensions bears little relationship to the effectiveness because agency officials do not compare these numbers with the amount of cross-border illegal activity. Last year, the agency adopted a new measure of accountability known as Operation Control. However, statistics show the border to be out of control in 4 of the nation's 9 border sectors. Today, the Border Patrol is trying to develop a more holistic approach to the border. It wants to introduce something called the Border Condition Index. Now, it says it'll provide top-level summary of schematics of the entire border, because we're not getting the real numbers here. So when Napolitano comes out and says that, she's not lying. But what she's doing is only telling you part of the story. And when you have deception like this, how are you supposed to know what the truth is? Most people will listen to Napolitano say these things, and the people who don't know any different, the people who are ignorant, and ignorance is a bad thing, but ignorance can be fixed. It just means they don't know. Or in some cases, they don't want to know. They just want to go by what they're told. If that's the case, then so be it, because they completely trust that the government's not going to lie to them. But what the government says is true. So when Napolitano comes out and says this stuff, they say, well, see, there you go. All of the rest of you guys are wrong. Our border is secure. Now give them a path to citizenship. These are people who are being duped. You know, it's like I've said in past programs, these people are the people who have been just totally indoctrinated, totally deceived, or they just don't care enough. You know, a lot of people are just involved in their own personal little lives, and as long as they can buy their toys and make their mortgage and go to soccer practice and there's food on the shelves at the grocery store, then they don't care about anything else, you know. A lot of people have the attitude that, well, I don't have anything to do with that. I'm just not interested in that kind of stuff. It's too much fighting, too much arguing. I don't want any part of that. Well, that's the problem. So these people that say they're going to stay out of it because they don't want to be a part of it are the major part of it. These people are the ones who are allowing all of these things to happen, all of the rules, regulations, policies, procedures, and laws that are causing all of this deception, these terrorists pouring across our border, and it's affecting them directly, and they're just so self-absorbed, they just don't see it. They don't understand it, and they just don't care. And that's what part of the problem is. In the second segment of the program, I'm going to talk about this great divide, because this great divide among Americans is really the heart of the problem here. But before we do that, I'm going to take a small break here. I'm going to come right back. Whatever you do, please don't go away. We'll be right back.
You're listening to W. Dean Shook, In Time, Prophecy News, and Current Events. Stay tuned.
What is sin?
You can now hear our program on Stitcher Smart Radio. Stitcher allows you to listen to your favorite shows directly from your iPhone, Android phone, Kindle Fire, and more. It's on demand and on the go. Don't have Stitcher? Download it free today at Stitcher.com or in the App Store. Stitcher Smart Radio, the smarter way to listen to radio.
Professional identity thieves constantly search your information for vulnerabilities. At LifeLock, relentless protection of your identity is their primary mission. They help ensure that you stay ahead of identity thieves. LifeLock is first in the industry to offer proactive identity theft protection. They're level 1 compliant under the payment card industry data security standards. They have direct access to fraud resolution teams within their extensive network of lenders and service providers. They are experts through leadership with internationally recognized experts in privacy and security, technologies, fraud, and criminal methods. They also partnership with FBI law enforcement and the National Organization for Victims Assistance. Sign up today at WDeanShook.com and receive a 30-day free trial and 10% off your final purchase. The W. Dean Shook program has partnered with LifeLock to make sure your identity remains safe and secure, guaranteed. Get your 30-day free trial of LifeLock's industry-leading protection at WDeanShook.com. That's WDeanShook.com.
GoDaddy offers everything you need to make a name for yourself on the web, from domain names and website builders to complete e-commerce solutions. We've earned our place as the world's #1 accredited domain registrar by delivering world-class products at competitive prices and support them with industry-best services delivered 24/7, 365. We're proud to serve our customers from locations around the world. Sign up now at WDeanShook.com and get your domain name as low as $5.99 a year. Sign up now at WDeanShook.com. Go, Daddy. Go, Daddy.
Don't worry about your food supply when a disaster hits. At Buy Emergency Food, their focus is to provide families and individuals with the highest quality food storage available, along with the most